Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling strangely inadequate or judged, even though the other person seemed kind and well-meaning? What if their virtue was a mask for manipulation? Virtuous narcissists are masters at hiding their self-serving agendas behind a facade of compassion, making them harder to spot, but not impossible. I've spent the last 20 years researching self-worth and narcissistic relationships. As a coach, author, and survivor myself, I teach practical systems to help empower you. In this video, I'll reveal 5 powerful clues to help you recognize these hidden patterns. I'll share real-life examples and arm you with strategies to help you stay empowered in any conversation. Have you ever met someone whose pride in their religion, political party, or favorite cause comes across oddly self-centered? This is our first clue, the savior on a pedestal. Virtuous narcissists, often called communal, altruistic, or moral narcissists, are people who inflate their sense of self-worth by portraying themselves as exceptionally kind, giving, or morally superior. Unlike overt narcissists who seek admiration through achievements, or covert narcissists who play the victim to gain sympathy, virtuous narcissists tie their identity to a group and present themselves as the moral compass of that group. Their comments will sound something like, "If it weren't for people like me, this cause wouldn't even survive." You'll often see this in environments where moral superiority and group identity are central, such as charities, volunteer events, or workplaces. They might say something like, "I'm just so proud of how much we've accomplished as a team." And while appearing like they're a team player, the underlying message is clear. Their values make them the moral anchor of the group. When someone positions themselves as the moral center of a group, it can feel like their praise for the cause is more about self-promotion rather than collaboration. This is where the observer technique comes in. To test their intent, shift the focus away from them with a neutral comment. Something like, "It's great the whole team contributes." A genuine team player will agree and celebrate shared effort, while a virtuous narcissist will redirect attention to their unique role, their elevated status, or their special connection to the leader, subtly implying that the group's success depends on them. By the way, if you're wondering how to assess the level of risk in your own relationships, I've created a free narcissist protection checklist to help. It's a quick and powerful way to protect yourself and those you love, and it's in the description below. Have you ever heard someone say, "It's not about me, it's about the cause"? This brings us to clue number 2, the humble brag hero. Virtuous narcissists often disguise self-promotion as humility, but unlike other narcissists, their focus is on tying their identity to the group's success. Their humility isn't just about their personal contributions, it's about showing how their sacrifices are essential to the group's accomplishments. They might say something like, "It wasn't about me, I just couldn't stand by and let the fundraiser fail." At first, these statements sound selfless, but the underlying message is clear. The group's success wouldn't happen without them. The virtuous narcissist doesn't seek admiration for who they are as an individual. It's a subtler, more collective form of narcissism, but no less self-serving. Have you ever felt judged because your family, religion, or community wasn't good enough? This brings us to clue number 3. They weaponize their moral high ground. Virtuous narcissists don't feed their ego through personal self-aggrandizement or through self-pity. Instead, they elevate themselves by tying their identity to their group's perceived moral superiority. They might say something like, "I just don't understand how people can be so selfish." Not to inspire change, but to highlight their group's excellence and, by extension, their own. It's not about personal accomplishment or personal suffering. It's about leveraging their group's status to subtly reinforce their role as its moral core. When you're talking to a virtuous narcissist, you'll notice a recurring pattern. Their conversations circle back to the moral high ground. They might even weaponize their religion against you or subtly position their political beliefs as superior. For example, they might say, "I just don't know how anyone finds peace without," insert their special practice, which sounds innocent, but carries the clear message that their way is the only true path. In family conversations, they'll use comparisons to elevate their own dynamics. For instance, they might say, "Our family always makes the time to eat together." The underlying message here is that your family doesn't measure up to ours. Have you ever had someone remind you of the favors they've done right when they needed something from you? This brings us to the fourth sign, transactional generosity, framed as selflessness for the group. When talking to a virtuous narcissist, their generosity often comes up, but it's rarely without strings attached. They present their actions as being for the greater good, but in reality, their so-called selflessness is just a calculated way to create obligations and maintain control over others. In the workplace, this might sound like a manager saying, "I stayed late every night this week because the team deserves to be seen as the most reliable in the company." On the surface, it sounds like dedication, but it's actually a calculated move to position themselves as indispensable while subtly controlling how others perceive the team. When dealing with someone whose generosity feels more like a subtle power move than a genuine act of kindness, it's time to use the generosity mirror. When they remind you of their sacrifices or their generosity, pause and ask yourself, is this act truly about giving, or is it about creating obligation and control? True generosity feels free, while transactional generosity creates pressure or a sense of indebtedness. To establish boundaries, say something like, "That's very kind, but I've got it covered," or "I appreciate the offer, but I'll handle this on my own." These statements gently but firmly decline their attempts to create dependency. Have you ever noticed someone claiming their group is constantly under attack? This is the final sign. They use their virtuous group to claim victimhood. For virtuous narcissists, their sense of self is tied to their group's identity, and they swing between two extremes of narcissistic behavior. Like a grandiose narcissist, they portray the group as extraordinarily talented, virtuous, or superior. At the same time, they adopt the covert narcissist tactic of presenting the group as uniquely victimized or persecuted, deserving constant sympathy or constant recognition. In discussions about social justice, they might say, "People just don't understand how much people like us have to endure," tying victimhood to their group to amplify their moral standing. In religious or spiritual conversations, they might say something like, "Our beliefs have always set us apart. We're just more enlightened than most people." In New Age communities, you might hear, "People just don't know how hard it is to live authentically," or "Our practices are far more evolved than what most people can comprehend," framing their group as uniquely superior while dismissing other unenlightened people like us. This pattern keeps the focus on them, making their identity inseparable from the group's struggles and achievements. This behavior is really dangerous because it cloaks manipulation in the guise of advocacy and righteousness. In conversations where someone's using their virtuous group to claim victimhood, whether it's about social justice, workplace dynamics, family, or religion, use the narrative disruptor to put an end to the manipulation. When they say something like, "People just don't appreciate everything we do," calmly ask, "Why do you think people react that way?" Then observe their response. A narcissist will often view the situation in black and white terms. They're always right. Their group is morally superior or especially victimized, and anyone who disagrees is wrong and against them. On the other hand, an empathetic person will recognize the gray areas and complexities of the situation. They'll consider multiple viewpoints and acknowledge different people that might have different valid reasons for reacting the way they do. And they might respond with curiosity rather than defensiveness. This openness to nuance is a hallmark of genuine collaboration. Hey, thanks so much for watching. YouTube thinks you're going to love this video right here on the screen, so click it. It's packed with more tools to help you spot narcissists, avoid manipulation, and build boundaries that actually work. Don't miss it. It's the next step towards creating the life you deserve. I'll see you over there. Okay, bye.